Tonight on Wesley's Tasty Kitchen, we're doing chicken pot pie, a very hearty comfort food that our family loves, and I'm sure you're gonna love it too. I'm using a whole roasted chicken that I'm gonna cook, make it a little easier in the Instant Pot. I'll show you that step, but you can do this on the stove top. You can use chicken parts, you can use just chicken breast, or you can use a rotisserie chicken and just make it easier on you if you want to. I have one of the things that makes this thing great and easy is I'm using Phyllo dough for the pastry, and it is going to be really good. Carrot, celery, chicken stock, and some mixed vegetables. You can just use peas or whatever vegetables you like, but it is mixed vegetables. So stay tuned as we do chicken pot pie. Now I'm starting to cook the roaster chicken. You can use a whole regular chicken, but I got a roaster which is a little bigger, but you can go either way. Or as I said, you can use chicken parts or chicken breast, or make it easy, you can get a rotisserie cooked chicken. But as you can see, this big boy just about barely fits in my Instant Pot. So what we're gonna do, I've got 1.5 cup of water in the bottom with the trivet, and I'm going to add some salt, some kosher salt, about 2 tablespoons, probably about a tablespoon of garlic powder, probably about the same of oregano, and I'm going to use about the same, about a tablespoon of onion powder here as well, and some cracked pepper, and once again about the same, maybe close to a tablespoon worth. Okay, so now we have all that in there. We have a big chicken here, so we're going to have to go about, even if it's just slightly undercooked, we still are going to have some time in the oven, but we'd like to get this thing fully cooked, of course. So we're going to go 35 minutes on this one. So we're going to go full pressure, 35 minutes, and we're going to do a natural release for about 15 minutes. So there we go, and I will show you the next. As you can see here, as our chicken is still cooking, I'm going to show the process. I'm going to saute up the celery and the onions. We really couldn't cook that here. It would have become mush in the cooking time it's going to take to cook the chicken. So we're going to start with about a tablespoon, maybe about a tablespoon and a half of butter, and about the same of olive oil. You don't have to use your real expensive extra virgin olive oil. Let me keep this here. I might need to add a little more oil as we go. But what we're going to do is just let the butter melt, and then we're going to put our vegetables in and saute them to a translucent consistency. We don't want to brown them. Just want to get them a little bit soft. Remember, this is all going to go in the oven, so it's going to get some more cooking time as well. So we're about there now. Okay. Oops. I'm going to add everything in at one time. Saute these, as I said, until they get kind of translucent. Got a little small bay leaf in there. Oh, another thing I need to mention. I had to, right after I closed the Instant Pot, I realized that I left the bay leaves behind, and so with 40 comes pressure, I opened the lid and added in about 3.5 bay leaves. 3 to 4 is fine, somewhere in that neighborhood. Adds a little flavor to the chicken. And we are going to have a little stock in it that we're going to use. We'll probably need some of our extra store-bought stock, but we'll use some of our homemade that we made by the chicken. I do want to mention here on camera that my first choice was puff pastry, which I think is maybe just a tad better, but they didn't have it at my store. This is right behind it. It's usually in the frozen section of your store. They do not have the puff pastry, so I'm going with this, but this is excellent as well. This is very airy and thin. So, you know, if you can't find either one of the two, you can use a ready pie crust as well. So we're about ready for the next step here. The onions and the celery are about where we want them. We're going to add about a third cup of flour to the mixture. We're going to stir that all in with the onions and the celery. Just want to cut some of that flour taste out of here for a couple of minutes. I had some chicken stock already open in the refrigerator. I am not going to wait. I'll use the homemade chicken stock for another recipe, since I'm not going to wait on the chicken for this step. So we're going to add about, probably, well, I may end up opening my other one. I think we need a little more. That's probably about a cup and a half. I probably need about another cup. So I may be opening up my other stock that I somewhere in my pantry. But let me grab that. Both of these are low sodium. Different brands, but both low sodium. Okay. You can use homemade. I prefer homemade, but I just don't have it today. So right there, we're gonna use this, and then we're gonna start adding whole milk to it. Probably about 2 cups of whole milk. This is gonna become our sauce inside of the chicken pot pie. And we may be adding some more. We'll just do this to taste and let it thicken up. We may even have to add some cornstarch. So you want this to be a little thicker than what you think you need, because remember, the vegetables and the chicken's gonna put out some moisture during the baking time. So it's going to thin it up some. So if this is a little thicker than what you need, it'll usually come out about right. Okay, I have added a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to it. Also added a little bit of white pepper, which is excellent in it. And another thing that's totally optional but really excellent, I was out and just bought some this week. I could not find, I like whole nutmeg that I can grind myself, but they didn't have it where I was. But I found some fresh, it's fresh because I just opened it, ground gourmet nutmeg. But this is excellent in it. Just put about a teaspoon worth of nutmeg in it. It just adds a great undertone. And most people can't even tell what it is, but it just adds such a flavor to it. And we're gonna have to add the slurry, which this is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of milk. You can use water, but I just use milk, so we're just staying consistent here. Just gonna get that in there, just to help thicken it up. Probably gonna be adding some more milk and a little bit more chicken stock anyway, so we may even have to do another slurry batch. It just all depends. Like I said, you want it a little thicker than what you think. And you want it thick enough where at least, you know, see, it's definitely too runny right now. It's got to be a good thick consistency, but it'll come together. You just wait and see. Well, just about a minute ago, the Instant Pot finished, but it's still going through the natural release, which we want to go for about a minimum of 15 minutes. I did add about another cup of chicken stock to this and about another cup of milk. So I'm going to need to add the slurry again, 2 tablespoons once again. Here we go. It was starting to thicken up a little, but we're going to probably, we thinned it down a little bit with more stock. We're gonna need a little more of the slurry in there. And like I said, this is all just by ear. You'll get a feel for it. Like I said, you want a little thicker than what you think you need, especially since I'm using some frozen vegetables in this mixture today too. That will add a little more moisture than if you use all fresh vegetables. But any vegetables will add some moisture to it. So we like ours pretty saucy. We don't want it too dry. We think the sauce and the crust are kind of what bring it all together and make it special. Well, our sauce is where we need it now. Let me just kind of show you. As you can see, the spoon, this is kind of the test. Watch the back of the spoon. There it is. It's just kind of staying on the back of it, maybe very slowly rolling, but it pretty well stays on the spoon. You see, it doesn't drip off. So that's a good consistency. You don't want it paste, but you don't want it so thin that it's just dripping off. But there it's coating the spoon and staying on it. So we're gonna turn off the heat and just let the sauce wait. Now that we have the chicken cooked, I deboned it. It was still blazing hot. I used nitrate gloves with cotton liners and still felt a good little heat under my gloves, but no way I could have done it. I just didn't want to wait for another hour or so for the whole chicken to cool. I was pretty selective. This was probably about 80% of the chicken. My wife just hates it if I get skin or bones or anything, so I'm very careful. You know, there's just skin there, which would have got me in big trouble here. So anyway, as I said, she's very picky about the pieces in there. We're going to start by just dumping in the whole bag of this mixed vegetables. It's going to be a lot. This is a 32-ounce bag. And since these vegetables do not have any seasoning in them, they're not salted or anything, it's going to kind of, we're going to add about maybe about two teaspoonsful of salt, kosher salt on top of them, and about a teaspoon of pepper, just to add a little flavor into the frozen vegetables. Okay, now we're going to come over with our sauce that we've been making with the onions and the celery in it. I'm going to scrape all that in there. Be a little tricky here, holding this with one hand and scraping at the same time, but I think I got it pretty good. So now we need to just kind of slowly incorporate everything together. The mixed vegetables, the sauce, the chicken for a little while. And once we finish that, we will start baking it. We'll add the crust on a little later so the crust does not get doughy. Okay, now we're getting ready to cook the dough. I'm going to do that prior to putting the chicken pot pie in the oven. I'm going to get the crust nice and cooked, golden brown before we start. Get 2 packs of these in here. And I want a little easier the direction. I've got the oven preheating to 375. You can use an egg wash with mixture with a little bit of olive oil in it, it says, but I just used a cooking butter spray between each sheet. There's about a dozen layers, and sprayed it lightly with that just because it was a little easier and quicker to mist that in there than getting a brush out and doing all the painting brush of everything. So now we're going to put this in the oven for 8 minutes until it comes that golden brown. I'll show you a shot of it when it comes out of the oven. As you can see, we just came out of the oven. It's a nice light golden brown. We're going to be putting it back on the chicken pot pie about 5 minutes before the end. on top of the crust, and they'll get a little more brown then. As you see, we're going to start with the chicken pot pie covered with aluminum foil, just to kind of help it. And it's going to go into the oven for 35 to 45 minutes. I think we're going to be probably 40 to 45 minutes, we'll see.